Hi, in this video I'm going to cover the topic of how to set the recording functionality on your IQ CCTV high definition DVR. We're going to use the 8-way DVR for this demo, but basically it's applicable for the 4, the 8 and the 16 way in terms of functionality in the menus, etc. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hop off here on my chair and I'm just going to come around and I am going to just have in front of me here. So we're just going to say, how do we know that we have a hard drive that's been successfully added? Well, if we look here, there's a little red light saying HDD, so we know the hard drive is there. Now by default on this DVR, and indeed all DVRs really, the cameras, any camera that's connecting will be set to record, okay? We've actually gone in here ahead and knocked off that to have it by default that it's not recording, simply because I want to demonstrate the following, which is how to do a manual record. So just say we came along, there was something of interest to us, we weren't recording at the time, we want to do a very, very quick recording. We could do a manual record, which is down here. I just press here, and it'll continue recording now until I stop recording. And if we look down here, we see the hour button here, okay? And if I just bring the menu back up here, it'll come along, and now it says stop recording manually. I click to hide the menu, and we'll see the record functionality is gone. So I just want to show that. It's obviously not the way most of you are doing it. Most people are actually scheduling recordings, etc. So what I'm going to do here is just hit the right button, bring up the main menu, and I'm going to click into recording here. So what we have here is we have the recording parameters, which you can see here. And basically there, when we come along and we're talking about the channel, whether we want to enable or disable the recording on it, or pre-record, the schedule here, and then we have the mainstream as well, okay? So we're basically setting the type of resolution and many frames per second. So we can change that. We'll say that, you know, people, obviously, the more frames per second and the higher the resolution, you know, the better picture we can get, but also you have to reflect on it, the faster your storage capacity will be used up. So depending on the application, you might want to vary that. But the main thing we're going to talk about here is the actual scheduling. So we come along here, and I'm actually just going to go back to the default setting here. So what it has is, by default, it's recording on all channels 24/7, okay? So we can see here, right along, from in 1 hour blocks, although the recording when we play back it'll be in half-hour blocks. It goes from midnight straight through till midnight of the end of that day. And what we have here is, we'll say, we could come along and we might say, well, we simply just don't want to record at certain times, and other times we want to record them continuously. And then the other possible setting would be that we want it only if there's a motion detection, where it actually picks up some motion by our cameras. So what we could do here is, let's say the green is recording all the time, the yellow is motion, and the blue is no recording. So I could make a decision that will say during from midnight until 6 AM, we only want to be recording if there's motion. So I'll actually just come along, deselect this, and what I'll do then is I'll just click on here on the yellow, and I'll just say for those 6 hour blocks here, what we'll do is we'll only record when there's motion, and we'll say during lunchtime we just don't want to do any recording at all for whatever reason, okay? So that's it. And what I can come along here is I can simply go and I'll apply that, and we've saved that setting, okay? Now that's just for Sunday. Might have a different setting, we'll say, for other days of the week, but if we come along to the Monday, by default, it'll be exactly as the default in the first camera was. But let's just go back to the Sunday setting here. And if I came along and I made the decision, well, the Sunday and the setup that I have on the Sunday is exactly what I want to have on every day of the week. Well, I could go in here, we'll say, if I wanted to copy that setting over just to the Monday, we'll say, initially, I'll just come along and I'll copy it, I'll click OK, and I'll apply it. So there we have it. And if I flick to Monday, instead of being recording all day, it's like this. But if I go to Tuesday, we'll say it's still at the recording all day preset. And I think you're getting the basic idea here. But if we come along here, we'll just go back to the just go back to the Sunday, or we'll say the Monday at this point then. And Monday, and say apply that to all. Well, if I apply it to all now, I can copy it, OK, and then apply. And we'll just go OK. And now we'll say if I went all the way down to the Friday, or even indeed the Saturday, it's the settings from the Sunday that's been there. So that's good. And the next thing we can do then is we come along and say, well, the recording type of setup that I have here, I want to apply that not just to camera 1 coming in on channel 1, but I also want to apply it to channel 2 or channel 3 and channel 4. Well, what we can do here is we can come along and we're talking about channel 1 here, and we want to copy this to from channel 1 over to channel 3, and I'll just go copy, okay, and then I'll apply. And if I go then, we'll say, if I flick over to channel 2, it should remain unchanged, back to the default settings here. But if I flick over to channel 3, it'll be exactly as per the thing. So it's quite good then in terms of we can set it up exactly the way we want it, and then we can go and record it, okay? So they're the main ones we're after setting up there. We just talked about the roughly the parameters, whether we want to enable or disable by default, whether the type of, on the mainstream there we covered the whole area of the frames per second and the resolution picture that we wanted to do. And then finally here, how we wanted to schedule this, where we wanted to have a motion detection, not recording or recording all the time. So that's it anyway. In the next video, we're just going to cover the whole topic of how to play back recordings, etc. But this just covers the topic of how to set the recording functionality on your IQ CCTV high definition DVR.